Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm glad you could join me here today for our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday show, where we're about to step aside from our typical content on all things wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, and the science of bringing together the best of state-of-the-art lab testing and technology and combining that with the best of ancient wisdom, including Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, bioregulatory medicine, and much more. What I want to share with you today, though, is very important. It is the true numbers, the real numbers behind the virus. And it is also the lies and deceit that continue to be perpetuated by the media. I will fact-check everything for you today. I will link everything up at stephencabral.com/1573. I'll make sure that you are able to see all of the different links and the websites yourself. I will also link to all non-politically and basically bot affiliations. So there will be no linking for the World Health Organization, which has been clearly bought and paid for by larger, big corporations, as well as China and many other nations as well, all conspiring into that, and the deceit that actually started this particular virus without actually alerting anyone ahead of time. But besides that, what I want to do is really begin to explain to you what is going on here. It's becoming very, very clear the media's job and what they are intending to do. Their job is to keep you scared, to keep you afraid. And that is why they continue to show photos, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Instagram or whether you're on just Google, of grave sites and body bags and morgues, and saying morgues are overwhelmed and all of these different things to paint the picture in your head that something is going on out there that isn't actually true, that the numbers don't back it up. But remember, the media is very powerful. They can get you to believe anything that they want to, and they don't necessarily have to lie. It's all in how they spin it. So I'm going to show you the actual numbers and just show you today how they spin it. My goal today is to get you to understand that there absolutely is an agenda here. The agenda is without a doubt to create control of the population, get them to live in fear of one another, and absolutely shut down and destroy the economy, which is exactly what's going on. When you see now that 30 to 40% of all small farms are now going to go out of business. Why? Well, people aren't going to restaurants, and small farms also support restaurants. And so when you look at that, we are going to lose one of the most central and important parts of our world, and that is small farmers. You do not want big agra, the only ones producing your GMO-based foods. We need to get out there. Again, I'm only giving you what I believe, and I want you to do what you feel is most appropriate with this information. But if we don't support our local farms, they're going under, and they're not going to be able to come back. They're simply going to be bought for pennies on the dollar by these larger farms so that they can never come back. So that's why now more than ever, we have to understand is that our economy is absolutely being decimated. And if you think about it, like many people are fortunate, right? They're fortunate to be able to work virtually. I'm fortunate to be able to work virtually, but I have to use my voice to stand up for those that are not able to. For example, all these restaurants that are closed, what about all of the different suppliers for those restaurants? What about the cleaning crew that comes in every single night? I mean, where are they getting their income from? They're not. Well, all of those people most likely have their homes to pay for or rent to pay for. What about their children? Their children need to eat. If someone had a housekeeper before, well, no one's allowed in your house, so now you're not allowed to have that person work. What about all the different small businesses that we never think about, right? What about the yoga studio? Well, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of yoga one-on-one with people. Like, what about the camaraderie that all goes together with that? And again, I would not be preaching this to you if I didn't actually see the numbers, see what was going on, and begin to understand. Another big part of this is, and again, I'm going to back this up with everything, is the government and people telling you to wear masks, to cover up. Well, here's the thing. that would be sound advice if, one, there was a major concern, and number two, if the masks actually worked, but they don't. So when I see, and I know this is what really brought me to bring you this show today, because, so here's the thing. 2 weeks ago, I did a show, and I said it's going to be my last show on the virus ever, because here's where I am. I was really frustrated. I've been censored all over Facebook and Instagram, all but basically shut down on Instagram, where they show my post to 1% of the people who actually follow me there. So, it's just wasn't in a good spot. But your support, your outreach, your sharing of the podcast was unbelievable. And it got me reinvigorated that, well, people out there do care. They are listening. And, the truth is, I didn't want to come off insensitive. I don't want people to ever, a lot of people, if they're listening to me the first time and this is the first show they hear me, well, they might think that I'm not sensitive to the people that it is affecting. And I don't want that to be the case at all. My thing is always to serve. It's always to help people. It's always to be a voice for those people that haven't found their answers or can't speak up for themselves. So that is not what this show is all about. And that's why I'm actually doing this particular follow-up. It's because of the support and because of you, and really just trying to be that voice for a lot of people that aren't able to share this specific side to other people. And it's not a specific side, it's the truth. It's the truth behind it. And so when I see people saying, oh, you need to cover up and wear a mask, okay, but if you're not wearing an N95 mask, you're not preventing the virus. And also, if you touch the inside of your mask, you are still spreading the virus. So unless you're wearing disposable gloves, an N95 mask, and some type of eye protectant, you're probably still going to get the virus. Now, I'm about to share with you why that may not necessarily be a bad thing. Again, hear me out on this. Listen to me. I'm gonna break it all down for you. So, what's the whole point then? If you have to go out in public and you have to stay 6 feet away and you have to wear a mask, it's all about control. That's really what all of this is about. It's about fear and control. Here's the thing. I'm at the register, or I'm at, I think, a local Walgreens the other day. Someone's in front of me. There's tape on the floor. I need to stand behind that 6-foot line. The person in front of me is supposed to wear a mask. They're not wearing a mask. I don't care, and I'll share with you why in just a moment. So if that person coughs, by the way, and even if they have a mask on, but it's not an N95, well, that particulate from the basically mucus in their mouth and up from their lungs is going to be in the air. It does not matter if you are 6 feet apart, because when you are in line, you are about to step into the space of another individual that just coughed or breathed or whatever. So what happens with that particulate? Well, it stays in the air. It doesn't immediately fall to the ground. So that means you're still exposed. 6 feet or not, 6 feet is arbitrary. It's between 3 and 12 feet. That's if someone coughs or sneezes. It could go up to 12 feet. Okay, so your personal space is about 3 feet. We kind of compromised and said it's 6 feet. Fine. 6 feet is fine. But do understand, we don't live in a bubble. There's no force fields or walls between that 6 feet. And eventually you walk into the other person's space, which is a part of that 6 feet, and the particulate is still in the air. Now, again, I'm not saying that for you to be fearful. I'm just sharing with you the truth and why all of these little masks that you wrap around your ears, they're not sealed. You still breathe in the air around you, and when you cough, it still goes out through the side of the mask. They're not form-fitting. It says on the package, this will not prevent the spread of the virus. So again, I just want to share that with you, not to be fearful, but because it's the truth. And the media will say things like, oh, well, make sure you cover up. This is the new normal. This is not the new normal. There's nothing normal about this. We should not accept this as the new normal. And this is not the type of fear that the media just wants to control you. Remember, when you tune in, they make more money. They make more money selling advertising. They promote their particular agenda. They're winning. We are not. We have to begin to push away from the media, push away from the particular fear and hype. And remember, if there was, I would have said it in the very beginning, and I stay on record, and all of those videos are still up. You can go to stevencabral.com/virus. You can see from the very beginning, and I said, listen, we don't know what's going on. This could be quite bad. Here's what we want to do. We want to gather our supplies. We do want to stay inside. We want to stay safe. No doubt about it. Let's do that. Let's figure out what's going on. Okay, good. I recommended that. I recommended the closure of schools and all those different types of things that we needed to, because we didn't know, and we certainly didn't want to spread this deadly virus, which many experts said there's going to be anywhere from 30 million people minimum that would die from this, all the way up to 30% of the entire global population, which would be about, 2 billion people or more. So again, none of that is true. It was always a possibility, right? It's a possibility. But now that we know, here's the thing. They got a taste of control and they're keeping us in control. I'm going to share with you right now, though, the actual numbers, all right? So you're going to see a bunch of things happen over the next few weeks as we start to open up a little bit more and a little bit more. The media loves to say, we just opened and all of a sudden now there's a surge in cases. Well, here's the thing. You can't have a surge in new cases within 24 to 72 hours of opening back up certain cities and towns. That is another lie. That is not how viruses work. Okay, here's what happens. When a virus, any virus, the common cold, enters your body, what happens is your body starts to develop immune cells. So I did a show on this on episode 1565, if you want to tune into that, as to exactly how this happens. So here's the thing, though. When you get a fever or when you get a cough or whatever you might get, you have to understand that's not the virus. That's your immune system. Your immune system is now raising body temperature to kill the virus. Your immune system is creating the expulsion, the cough, to get that fluid up and out of the lungs. So I'm not saying these are good things, but this is how your body is killing the particular virus. Now, some people are more susceptible. We'll talk about that in a moment because we're not going to play light on this, but we're going to be truthful. That's what the podcast is all about, the truth, right? That's what it is. We're about helping people over profits. That's really what it should be about, not the profiteering from fair. So what I want to share with you is this. When those symptoms happen, they don't happen immediately because even though the virus may enter the body, you don't have an immediate reaction because it takes 24 hours minimum to 72 hours to start to ramp up that immune system. And remember, 70 to 80% will be asymptomatic, which means they'll have no symptoms at all, which means they get the virus, they go about their daily business, and they never had a reaction because it was not a big deal for their immune system to knock it down and eliminate it. That's it. And now they have the antibodies and they're fully immunized. They're healthy. They're good to go, right? And that's why I'm such a huge proponent is if we can get this plasma therapy going, we can take the antibodies from people that have had this virus and we can inject them into someone else's body, giving them that immunity, right? That we can actually give them that. That is what we need to focus on. But there's no way that any company will go ahead and be able to do this at scale. And the reason is that it just goes against Big Pharma. It's not part of the plan. It isn't. But that is a natural way that we could look at it is just say, listen, especially from family, oh, you have the antibodies? You recovered just fine? Good, let's put some of those antibodies in me. Now my body would be able to recognize this virus right away. Oh, and it would already start to work to destroy the virus, to unravel that viral-based DNA, to destroy that liposomal layer right over it, right? And again, we know that works. But there's no way that we're probably going to be able to scale that, which is too bad. But there's more we can do. So here's what I'm saying. As we begin to open up a little bit more, which, by the way, is in itself let me talk about that towards the end. I'll talk about freedoms and liberties towards the end. So here's the thing. You are going to see a surge in cases, a surge in new number of cases. Do not let that scare you, okay? Do not let additional cases scare you. Keep in mind, in the United States alone, there are 40 million people that get the flu every year. Have we ever done this in your lifetime for the flu? The answer is no, we have not. Even in one of the worst flu seasons on record back in 2017, where 80,000 people or more died from the flu, we didn't do this. We didn't do this at all. Over 40 million people had this. Right now, about 5 million people across the globe have tested positive or that we know of for cases for this particular virus. Now, again, not downplaying it, not downplaying the flu either, but we have to start to put things in check. And here's the thing. Why do we want more cases? The reason why we want more cases is this. If we have more cases, we have more testing. If we have more cases, we're getting closer to herd immunity. A lot of people forget, and I mentioned this when I did if you didn't listen to the last viral update, I do recommend that. That was episode 1558. You can just go to stephencabral.com/1558. And as always, you can always just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. And when you go to that page, it's all the previous podcasts. So today, again, episode 1573, stephencabral.com/1573. All the links will be up there. Here's what I want to share with you, though. We need to get to 60% of people having had this virus. Now, you might say, well, that's crazy. We don't want the virus. Listen, I'm going to tell you why you don't have to be fearful right now. We need 60%. We don't need our 65-plus-year-olds getting it. What we need is the younger people getting it. We need to make sure that we get to herd immunity. We need to make sure that we build up our own natural antibodies. And by the way, this is how it's always worked from the dawn of time. When there is a bacteria or there's a virus or there's something out there, we humans cannot live in a sterile environment. Our immune systems become stronger with small agitations. When we are able to encounter a virus like this, that over 99% of the population will recover just fine, and about 80% will have no symptoms at all. We need the numbers of cases to actually increase. There's no outrunning it. A lot of people think, well, let's just stay inside forever. It does not work that way because no one's staying inside. We're just slow. It's a slow, gradual process of passing into each other because you're still going to a Walgreens to pick up toilet paper or something like that. You're still going to a Costco. You're still going to places, and it's not going to stop. So it's just a slower spread. Well, here's the thing. We've already flattened the curve. It's been pancaked. That's the truth. And I want to share with you those numbers. So again, you're going to start to see cases increase, okay? About 22,000 cases or so a day just in the U.S. alone. It's not drastically different for a lot of the world. What I want to share with you is this, though. And I'm going to take you to the exact stats now because I did say that I would share those with you. So the exact stats, about 1.5 million cases in the United States. So it's 1.577 1,577,758 in the United States as of May 22nd, okay, when this is being recorded. Now, no one else is even close to the U.S. And that's because the U.S. is a very unhealthy population. If you read in my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, you saw that the U.S. ranks number 37, basically dead last in the industrialized nations in terms of health. Yet we spend the most on healthcare, aka sick care. So yes, we're going to be the most susceptible. Because people are not healthy here. I talk about getting to a healthy body weight, not because of vanity, but because you're far more susceptible to viruses like this. It is affecting people 65 and over, really 75 and older, overweight people and people that are immunocompromised. And I'll share the exact statistics with you in just a second. The United States, triple any other country in terms of deaths as well, with 94,000, whereas the actual number, though, is closer to 70,000. And I'll share that with you now. Again, I'll give you all the stats. I'll link them all up. So right now, this is as of May 21st, and it's 71,339 deaths, which again, is not good. And I don't want to play light on this at all. I always say those numbers represent someone's mom, people's grandparents, the majority of people, or someone that was immunocompromised. So I don't want to make light of that at all. There are 330 million people in the United States. There has been now 1.5 million cases. There are 71,339 deaths from this. And a maximum we'd look at about 100,000. So again, not good, but here's the thing. Hospitals are incentivized to also claim it as a viral-based case. I can't use that C word because I'll be censored even more. So they're getting paid $13,000 to $15,000 per case and $30,000 to $39,000 for ventilators, etc. Keep in mind, I understand why they are paid to do this because hospitals are most are private in the U.S., so they need them to stay open, right? So they're incentivizing them. But that's a big incentive for a hospital to say, well, we could make a little bit more money if we did this. And remember, hospitals are also corporations, so don't think that there's not a little bit of commingling with these numbers, okay? So the numbers. One more point I want to make is that although the CDC they say they're keeping track of flu numbers, really keeping track of flu numbers because you can't find them. And you have to understand is that the flu season every year, an average of 40,000 to 60,000 people die of the flu just in the United States alone. Well, I know that's earlier in the year, but let's just say it was even 20%. Well, now we're taking that down another 20,000 deaths from the regular flu, from influenza, and not this particular virus. Again, not making light of it. It is real. A lot of people say it's not real. I always give you the unbiased truth. I told you all the dangers of 5G before, but this isn't 5G. This is a real virus. It is a real virus. We don't know how it came about, but we know it's a real virus. And so it is real, and we should take precautions. And I'll give you those precautions in just 1 second, but I want to get the rest of the statistics for you. So at its peak, On April 18th, we hit 14,998 deaths that week. And that was a high point. And that's a big number. Don't get me wrong. That is a big number, okay? The subsequent week went down to 12,000 on April 25th. On May 2nd, it went down to 9,011. On May 9th, it went down to 6,203. And on May 16th, it went down to 1,596 deaths for the week. So you have to understand is the curve has been flattened. Hospitals are open. And when we look at that, although every life is important, we have to understand that at these numbers, we're talking about 30 deaths per state in the United States. And even if it was 5,000, we're talking about 100 per state. And we know that there's hotspots in the U.S. So now we're talking about, out of the 330 million people, 30 deaths per state, based on the actual numbers that the CDC gave us. Is that enough to force people into homelessness, to greater addiction with alcohol and drugs because of what's going on right now with mental health, to force people that are in abusive relationships to have to stay home all day long? Or for children right now, they're saying about 40% increase in anxiety in children because they have to wear masks. They don't know what's going on. Is this the right thing to do? I can't answer that question for you, but what I can do is I can share with you the numbers, share with you what I believe. Now, out of all those deaths, what they're also not sharing with you is this, is that over 80% of all of those people, minimum over 80%, had pre-existing health conditions. So now we start to see the numbers drop dramatically. And I want to give you now the true statistics. So here are the actual stats. If you are 80 plus years old, from all cases, pre-existing or not, 14.8% chance of mortality. Do you see why now the average age of mortality with this virus, it does not affect everyone at all ages equally. That is a media-based lie as well. It does not. 80 plus year olds, again, average age of mortality between 77 and 81 years old, with most people saying 81 years old. Okay, but I'll go conservative. I'll say in the lower end, 77 to 81 years old. Let's say it's 77. If you are 80 plus years old, 14.8% chance of mortality if you get the virus. Do you see why we need to protect our elderly-based population? They're most at risk. I've spoken about this in previous videos. 70 to 79 years old, you have an 8% risk of mortality if you get the virus. If you are 60 to 69 years old, swayed more towards the later half of the 60s, you have a 3.6% chance of mortality. Again, this is pre-existing cases and all. If you are 50 to 59 years old, pre-existing conditions and all, you have a 1.3% chance of mortality. If you're 40 to 49, you have a 0.4%. If you're 30 to 39, you have a 0.2%. If you're 20 to 29, you have a 0.2%. If you're 10 to 19 years old, you have a 0.2%. And if you're 0 to 9 years old, it's essentially zero. Now, the media, though, they're trying to get their stronghold. They're losing control. People are waking up. They know that this is not what the media is making it out to be. So what are they doing now? Their last scare tactic. Well, they have two. They have two scare tactics left. I'll give you the first one. One is they're saying that it's mutating to scare people. So now it's no longer the same. So it could be worse. We don't really know. Well, here's the problem. They need to get their story straight. Because if they don't, they have to understand is the vaccine that they are promoting will not work if it's mutated. Because that vaccine is set up for a specific strain. So this miraculous vaccine that's somehow going to be created within 6 months' time, like right away, 3 months to 6 months, when typically to safely create one, it's going to take 2 years or more. So you're saying that somehow, because we're trying to give this extra effort, like we haven't tried to give other things extra effort, that we're going to be able to fix this? I mean, look how long it took for an HIV-based one. And you're going to create this in 3 months? Really? Like the smartest people weren't already working on this? So again, the media and Big Pharma, they have to get their story straight. They have to get it together because you can't say it's mutating and then say we have this miraculous thing coming in the future. You have to be careful, right? They have to get their story straight on that. And again, I'm not saying not to get a vaccine and I'm not saying to get one. What I'm saying is you have to make the best choice for you. But if they put something out, it better be healthy for the human population and it better be well tested because you don't want to set yourself up for other issues that could go along with it that we've seen before in the past. All right, so that's all I'm saying there. So that's one of their strongholds, and the other is that it's now affecting children. They have all sorts of media shock and scare now about multi-system inflammatory system syndrome in children, referred to as MISC. That's affecting their organs, their blood vessels. That's basically really scaring people, something akin to Kawasaki disease or toxic shock syndrome. But we have to understand this. The odds of the children get the virus. Keep in mind, they can get the virus. But the younger they are, 0 to 9 years old, it's almost nil. When they use the word kids, they're really referring to teenagers, and they won't tell you that, right? So that's part of the lies. Now, if your child develops a fever or abdominal pain or vomiting or diarrhea or difficulty breathing or chest pain or accelerated heart rate or irritability, lethargy, skin rash, bloodshot eyes, they look really pale, please do take them to the doctor. I'm not saying not to be smart about this, but what I am saying is that this is very rare. So rare, and again, they won't share this in the studies with you or the headlines, but I'll share the exact studies. There were 48 children studied over a 3-week span where this information came from that had this particular virus. More than 80% of those children, many of them teenagers, had diabetes, obesity, underlying health conditions, or immunosuppression. So unfortunately, these children were not healthy in the first place. Much of that, of course, not their fault. As a child, it's not your fault. This is not your fault at all. Now, out of everything they studied, unfortunately, 2 children did pass away. Now, that does not, 2 children, although tragic, absolutely tragic, no doubt about it. And unfortunately, children do get sick. They do. And unfortunately, there are many people that are in all categories and ages that do have underlying health-based conditions. And we don't always know. It's just not always known. And that's one of the tragedies. It is one of the great hardships of being human. It really is. I mean, I'm not saying that this is easy. It's not easy. None of this is easy. But when you are making headlines and telling us now children have to go back to school but only wearing face masks, being sprayed down with cancer-causing chemicals to somehow kill a virus, for them to all be 6 feet apart, to teaching our children to live in fear, no way. No way is that healthy. You have to understand there's physical health and there's mental emotional health. And mental emotional health will break down your physical health as well. People they're not looking at the science behind it. If a child coughs in a classroom, even wearing a mask, one of those ones that wraps around your ears, you don't think that it spreads? Of course it does. Of course it does. We have to be realistic about this. We have to understand that this is not what it's made out to seem. The average age of mortality is 77 to 81 years old. It does not affect every age range differently or the same. It does not. It's like the flu. The people that are older are hit the hardest. The people that are immunocompromised are hit the hardest, that end up with some type of lung-based inflammation and congestion and disease. And again, why? Well, the media, again, will never tell you. But especially in New York, they got hit the hardest. They would not close nursing homes to patients that they knew had the virus. So they let patients with the virus back into nursing homes that weren't fully recovered, and it spread through assisted living and nursing homes rapidly. And unfortunately, that's the most at-risk population. And that's why you see such a great number of people over the age of 80, 14.8%, dying from this particular virus. And again, not making light of it. That is the particular state. Just a few more numbers. Those people with pre-existing conditions, 13.2 had cardiovascular disease, 9.2 had diabetes, 8% had chronic respiratory disease ahead of time, 8.4% had high blood pressure, and 7.6 had cancer. As of right now, again, not everyone knows pre-existing conditions. Less than 1% had no pre-existing conditions. And again, all these stats are going to be linked up for you. I'm going to be closing up the show soon because I know that I'm going a little bit over on my time. But I simply wanted to share with you what the real stats are without trying to frighten people. You know, when, again, just color in this. This was as of just yesterday with mortality rates in New York City, which again, in the United States was hit the hardest. 0 to 17 years old, 0.58. That was the mortality rate, okay? And not letting you know that the majority of that is more towards the teenage years, where there's already the obesity, there's already the underlying health-based conditions, which is tragic. Again, that's what I work every day of my life trying to help, is to help people to not have these underlying conditions. 18 to 44 years old. Out of the total, again, the total percents of all of this is 19. 45 to 64, 176 of the number of cases here. 65 to 74, 579, and then 75 years or older, 1,443. You can see how dramatic it is for 75 and older. So what do we need to do? Like, what does all of this mean, right? We know that we shouldn't live in fear. That's one thing, okay? But here's what we need to do. We can't pretend like there isn't a virus, but these things, they're going to continue to happen, whether it's the seasonal flu, whether it's this virus, whatever it might be. We need to really understand that you can take control of your health for you and your children, for your family. And that is by eating a good, healthy, nutritious diet. That is by moving your body. That is by getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. It's that de-stress protocol that I talk about. And then understanding that even though the media doesn't want to publish them, you'll see all of the studies proving that vitamin D levels matter. People are less susceptible to viruses when they have healthy levels of vitamin D. Same with zinc and same with vitamin C. All of my previous protocols are at stephencabral.com/virus. You have to understand, we know how to keep the immune system healthy. If you're not healthy right now, you can still work on it. You can read the Rain Barrel Effect. You can go back and listen to all my previous free podcasts. You can work with a local integrative health practitioner. You can do all of these things to allow you to improve your own health. Never rely on the media or anyone else to tell you what you're supposed to do. Remember, take care of your body, take care of your family. If I can help in any way, please let me know how I can. Let me know what you thought about the show. Just my Instagram account, which is Stephen Cabral. It's just my name with a PH, Stephen Cabral. And also, again, if this is helpful, every couple of weeks, I will do another update on this. I really don't even like talking about it because I don't want to come off as insensitive. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we are not destroying families, we're not destroying lives, we're not destroying our livelihood with shutting down small farms. We have to begin to open back up. We need to contact our local mayors, our governors, our city council people, and let them know that it's time to allow us to get back to our previous way of living, our actual normal. This is not the new normal. And also for those people that are in the most risk range, immunocompromised, or they're over age 65, let us help you. This is the time. Let us help you as we build herd immunity so that we can go shopping for you. In Maine, 4 out of my 5 neighbors are all elderly. They are 75 years and older, even though they are all strong women. They all live by themselves, and they're good. We've asked them, right since when we came up, we said, listen, we're happy to go food shopping for you. We're happy to pick up whatever you need. Just let us know. And again, they're being smart, they're being safe, but they just continuing to push on. And so that's their choice. And the bottom line is that we should be allowed to choose. We really should. It should be our choice. It's our body. It's our choice. And now that we know that hospitals have kept up, that they are good to go, well, we need to be able to make sure that these freedoms are not taken from us. Because remember, in a time of fear, it's easiest for media and governments to take away those liberties, to take away those freedoms. And that's certainly not a world that we want for our children or ourselves. Hopefully this has been helpful. And again, I want the best for you. I really do. However I can help, please let me know. You can ask questions over at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free Facebook group. You can connect with me on Instagram. But just let me know. Again, let me know how I can help. And please, as I've always said, do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe could serve. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my health results accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.